Well, there's never been a shadow of a doubt that playing in the Tesla stock market is always going to be exciting, one way or the other. You have to love drama. And this morning we have drama as Tesla has been up as much as 11 points this morning. Last time I checked, up a little over 10. Yeah, and what's going on? Well, we're going to dig into it and see if we can understand it. Elon has this to say about 12.4.2. I don't know if this is part of the reason this morning. He says, sorry for the delay. The release had far fewer interventions, but suffered in driving smoothness. It's better at avoiding accidents as well as avoiding situations that make humans feel like an accident might be imminent, but it doesn't feel as comfortable as a passenger. Part of the issue, he says, was too much training on interventions and not enough on normal driving. It's like a doctor training too much on patients in the emergency room versus training at preventative care. Our next generation, and then he switches to the subject. He says, our next generation AI model after this has a lot of promise. 5 times the increase in parameter count, which is very difficult to achieve without upgrading the vehicle inference computer. Well, nobody seemed to understand that last paragraph, so CERN Basher jumped in. He says, well, look, a parameter is like a setting that the AI adjusts to learn from data and then make some decisions. Each parameter holds a bit of information that the AI uses to understand patterns and general outputs. The more parameters an AI model has, the more detailed and nuanced its understanding of the outputs can be. Think of parameters as dials on a control panel. Each one is tweaked during the AI's training to help it get better at predicting and creating new data that looks like the original training examples. And Elon responds to that. He says, yeah, so long as the information compression efficiency is held reasonably constant, a higher parameter count is a representation of how well it understands the nuances of reality. That didn't help Elon. So CERN comes back in. He says, listen, I think what Elon is saying, information compression efficiency. This refers to how effectively an AI model can compress or simplify the information it learns without losing important details. It's about how the model manages to represent complex data with fewer parameters, still performing well. If this efficiency is maintained, it means the model isn't just getting bigger with more parameters, but it's also getting better at handling data without unnecessary complexity. He says the higher parameter count and understanding, he says Elon is suggesting that if an AI model can keep its compression efficiency constant while increasing the number of parameters, then the increase in parameters actually translates into a deeper understanding. And the more understands those complexities. Essentially, he's saying that more parameters can mean better performance and more nuanced understanding, but only if the model remains efficient in how it uses those parameters, pointing out that more parameters don't automatically make the model better unless it can effectively use those extra parameters to control more detailed insights about the data it's learning. So I hope all that helped. It helped me a little bit. I like the dials part, dialing it in. That was good. Yeah, I like that part best. Anyway, Sawyer Merritt has this to say. He says, breaking, Tesla's FSD supervised 12.4.2 is now starting to roll out to some normal Tesla owners, non-employees in Tesla North America. All right, then he goes on to say he has another story. He says Tesla China says sales hit a new high in June. That could be affecting the stock this morning. That's according to their Weibo page. So we got a little hint about what's going to happen tomorrow with the big numbers day. And then Sawyer also says, Sawyer's busy today. He says, Tesla China has extended its promotion that allows new buyers to choose between a zero interest option and a zero down payment option for the Model 3 and Model Y through next month. It was previously going to end on June 30th. We're starting to see, I think that Tesla is noticing that the zero interest rate, 1% interest rate thing is really working. We'll have another story on that in a minute. Okay, so some of you are questioning my understanding of the subsidies for fossil fuels. You know, there's this myth, believe me, it is a myth that the fossil fuel industry has all these special subsidies and special deals and special stuff. And Elon has actually stated this. He's said made statements about the fossil fuel industry having special benefits and special subsidies. I believed it myself. Really, until a month ago, I thought it was true. But then I dug into it and I dug deep. And so what I'm telling you is that there's a page that is put out by a website that is put out by a group that hates fossil fuels. I'm no fan of fossil fuels. I just think they're fine. We need them, and we're going to need them for another decade or two. But I just wanted to clear this up. So I went to their page, and what they had was a long list. I mean, it was probably, I want to say it was 11 or 12 different, maybe even more than that, different fossil fuel subsidies and special deals that they thought fossil fuels were getting. And I went down the list. Now, look, I'm not bragging here. I know something about tax law. I studied it at law school. I went down and I started looking at all these special subsidies. There was nothing special about them. There's not, if you could find the special subsidy, tell me about it. I really want to know, because I was as shocked as many of you are that there are none, and nobody's telling me. I keep looking at the comments. I keep looking for opportunity. Somebody tell me. They're just normal tax advantages like every other corporation gets. I can't find anything. So let me know in the comments if you know about any special deals that the fossil fuel industry is getting. I can't find any. All right, this is from Tesla Fan Metal. He says, the German 0% financing is back for Q3. Can expect the same in the US at some point, in his opinion. Last quarter, it started in the second month. And then Barron's is out this morning with a longish article stating what I started talking about early last week. They are now agreeing that Tesla investors have moved on from counting units and worrying about year-over-year comparisons on the raw numbers. And now people are seeing Tesla as far more than just an automotive company, but also an AI and robotics company. Well, okay, today I'm going to add that there's been some good news out on the numbers anyway, especially in China and Europe. So I see that as a positive trend, which might be impacting the stock this morning as well. And then let me add one more theory. Tesla is being mentioned here and there everywhere as the only remaining, or one of the few remaining beaten down big tech players, the only and last best chance to cash in. It's the only tech stock that hasn't been exploited yet. Everything else is way up here. And so the chances of getting big returns are minimal. But Tesla's way down here, and doubling or tripling seems to be a reasonable expectation. This is Randy Kirk. Please hit like, subscribe, notify. We've got Brian White in just a little while, and then Larry Goldberg tonight for Good News Monday. Brian White and I will be discussing those very numbers that nobody cares about anymore, but we still going to talk about them. Brian will be giving his numbers, and we'll be talking about all the other updates that have been coming over the last few days. And I will be exposing Troy Teslaike's numbers, even though he likes to wait 7 days. Sorry, Troy. If you want to kick me off of Patreon, I guess you'll have to do it. But, it's only 1 day to go. So if you're going to predict it yesterday, I'm going to have to actually give your number. All right. We'll be talking about that later this morning. NVIDIA continues to sell off today. There's plenty of both fundamental and technical reasons to expect a pullback in the equities. That's what I'm thinking. And that's going to be led by tech, because they've run up the most. They're going to come down the most. The bulls are still in charge right now. But that's just one more reason to worry. That's one of my biggest reasons for worrying about it. It's just gone too far, too fast. And as I said yesterday night, the hope for an increase, we're just absolutely going to have to see a 5 to 10% pullback. Now, if that's a 10% pullback, I still believe we'll be 5% higher by the end of the year. Even if it's a 20% pullback, we'll be 5% higher by the end of the year, roughly. But when you've got this great of a start to the year, first 6 months, and you're in an election year, and there's a high likelihood that the administration is going to change. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter whether it's Republican to Democrat or Democrat to Republican. If it's going to change, almost always the stock market goes up in that situation. So right now it's looking very much like there's going to be a change in administration. And so the market is very likely to be up by the end of the year, if any of that matters to you. Okay, then we have this from the Census Bureau this morning. Last night I said, look, there's not a chance in the world that construction spending is going up 0.2%, which was what was predicted. And I was right. Prior month was 0.3 versus the negative 0.1 previously reported. Okay, so last month went up compared to the down that was expected, but in this month it came down 0.1% versus the 0.2% that was expected. Now that was for total construction. If you break it down, you've got, I'm sorry, here we go. Private construction was down 0.03. Residential construction down 0.2. And non-residential construction down 0.3. So 0.3, 0.2, and 0.3. So roughly the same thing. Public construction was actually up 0.5, and educational construction up, and highway construction actually down, interestingly. Okay, so on a month-over-month basis, this month was a disappointing, but last month's revision kind of made up for it. So kind of, you might say, flattish over the 2 months. All right. There were other reports that were supposed to be out this morning, the ISM and anyway, but they just didn't materialize in time. I looked and looked and looked, but I couldn't get them for you. So let's go ahead and see what's happening with the markets right now. Let's start with Tesla. It is now 1109 and has actually even been higher, up 1109 at 208.97. Now remember, there's this 220 point, which everybody's talking about. So first, whether you're a technical analyst or you kind of a technical analyst, people are saying that this 220, if we break through 220, who knows, we could go all the way to, I guess, 300 or 304 or something of that nature. So the stock continues up right now, even as I'm watching, 1153 now, 209.41. So it's just rolling along this morning really, really well. All right. What about everything else? We've got the Dow Jones, which had been up a couple of hundred, only up 75 now. You've got the NASDAQ, which had been down in red territory, now plus 33. We got the S&P flattish this morning, has been flat all morning, around 326 up. You've got the rest of the Mag 7, Apple doing very well, everything else, Meta down 7, NVIDIA down 165, Microsoft doing okay, up 438. You've got the Cathie Woods mixed this morning, but narrowly mixed. Everything about just a few cents for the most part. Under $1, not anything moving more than $1. Okay, and I'm looking at Tesla here, just about to go over 12, but it has been more than 12 earlier. So that's quite a morning so far. All right, now let's look at the rest of the information this morning. So sorry. Okay, we got the bonds. Okay, now this is crazy. Cathie Woods are mixed, even though the bonds are up 12 basis points. The 10-year is up 12 basis points this morning at 4.463. This tells me that they are now expecting that the labor numbers are going to come in way better than expected. I don't think so. So I don't know. I think the labor numbers are going to be flattish to down compared to last month and maybe even lower than expectations. But boy, the bond market doesn't think so. 4.463. We are pushing up against 4.5 territory. I never expected to see this again. So what this does say for sure is that people do not expect the Fed to cut anytime soon. Yeah. That I agree with 100%. Not going to happen. All right, the 2-year is only up 5.4. That means that the spread now is 465. It is down to just barely over 30. It's like 31 basis points. That is the smallest. I think that I'll go look at the inversion later, but I think that is the smallest the inversion has been in a year. 2-month is only up 0.7 of a basis point. So on that one, we're now looking at way under 100. We're looking at around 90, almost exactly 90 basis points. Again, it has been as low as 75 in the last months. I can't remember how far back, but this inversion is collapsing rapidly over the last couple of days. What does that mean? Well, we'll keep watching it and we'll see if there's anything that we can generate in terms of a confident statement that we can make. All right, oil up 31 cents. both Texas and Brent sitting at 81.86 and 85.34. You've got natural gas down 2.42% at $2.53. So natural gas, surprising me, actually. We're in July and natural gas. Well, I'm going to give you this breaking news right now because it's happening right in front of me. The Supreme Court has ruled on this Trump case. Let's see if I can get it here. Supreme Court ruled the decision. Trump is the Supreme Court on Monday issued its decision. Trump is immune from criminal prosecution on federal election interference charges. Wow. So what's that going to have? What kind of impact is that going to have? Ruling by Trump is charged in this case. Okay. Anyway, there's the breaking news on that one. Will that have any impact on the markets? We'll see. Gold this morning. I'm sorry. Let's go back to, yeah. Okay. Gold is up or down just a little bit, down 380, 2335. It's become a joke on my channel because 2333 is my number and it just seems to sit, goes up and around and down, but comes always back to 2333. Silver is up a little bit, 0.12 this morning. Copper is up a lot at 0.48 at $4.40. Still, of course, way down from 510 where it was. We have got Bitcoin this morning up 790 points to 62.7. Right now at the bottom of what used to be its range of the 63 to 74. And then you have got the dollar this morning down, both the European, the right-wing one in Europe, that is being the reason people are saying that the euro is up this morning. And you've got the Japanese yen up also this morning. So the dollar down against all currencies as of this moment. And then, yeah, okay, let's see. Let's go back then and see what's happening. As after the big announcement, NASDAQ is up. Dow Jones is bottoming and starting to maybe turn. It's kind of flattish at 47 up. I never give you those percentages. That percentages are the Dow is up 0.1, NASDAQ up 0.18, and the S&P flat, exactly 0.00, where it has been all morning. Tesla now up 6.32 or $12.50 at 210.38. On that good news, I will say, please hit the like, subscribe, and notify button. We'll see you just in a little while with Brian White, and then tonight with Larry, where I'm pretty sure we're going to have good news. Although maybe that $12.50, there could be a little profit taking off of that. What are you thinking about? Tell me in the comments below. Are you ready to take profits as we now hit $210? Well, maybe so. It's Randy Kirk. It's been great talking to you.